Hey everybody, this is Christina from Brush and Bristle Studio. I hope you guys are having a great day so far. I'm going to go over how to use the 20-ounce Skinny Tumbler Multi Mockup. To get started, we're going to be using this in Photoshop or in Photopea. The first part of this tutorial, I'm going to go over how to use it in Photoshop. And pretty much everything is going to be the same in Photopea, so I'm not going to go over that again in the Photopea portion, but I will go over the couple little differences within Photopea in that portion. So once you have this open in Photoshop, you're going to do a couple things. And to start, I'm going to show you how to use this manually without the actions, and then I'll go back and show you how to use it with the actions. So first, you're going to look for these red tabbed layers. These are going to be your smart object layers, and it's like that on all three mockups. So to open up that smart object, you're going to double click on the thumbnail, and it's going to open up that document for you. You're going to go to File, Open, and navigate to the file that you want to have mocked up. Now, you want to copy this and paste it into that smart object document. So we're going to press Control A, or we're going to get this marquee tool and we're going to drag and drop to cover the whole document. And to know that you've got it all selected, you'll see these marching ants all over the outside of the canvas. So once you see that, you can press Control C or go up here to Edit and press Copy. Close that, and you'll be back to your smart object document. And to paste, you'll press Control V or go Edit, Paste. Now, sometimes your design may not be the same size as this, so you can press Control T or go Edit, Free Transform, and you'll see these anchor points pop up all around your design. So you can drag and drop from an anchor point, and it's going to resize that design for you. Now, as you can see, this is resizing proportionally. Let's say your design has like this much and just needs to be resized a little bit on the left. So to do this without the proportions being linked, you can look up here and you see you've got your width and your height. You can click this link, and as you see, that highlight went away. And when that highlight's gone, it'll let you resize without proportions being linked. Now, to save me time when I'm doing stuff, especially with resizes, I will leave that checked and I will hold down Shift. And Shift does the same thing as having to go up here and do that. It just saves a little bit of time. So once you're happy with how it's resized, you can press this check mark or press Enter. And you're going to press Control S to save, or go File, Save. And now you can go back to the main document and you can see that it's updated to all three tumblers on all three mockups. So that'll really help speed up your mockup process. Now, let's say you've got your design in here, but you want to make things pop a little bit more. So if we take a look at this right now, you'll see these highlights right here. They could probably stand to be a little bit more intense. So as you see over here, and this is supposed to be Tumbler highlights and shadows, and it's separated by the left, middle, and right tumbler. So let's take a look at the left, and you've got a glossy overcoat, highlights, and shading. Now, if you look up here in this little area, you've got a blending mode box, you've got opacity, and you've got fill. And that stays up here like this the entire time. But it'll change based on the layer that you're clicked on because I've got them at different settings. I don't recommend messing with the blending mode that's right here. Depending on the blending mode that you choose, it can actually change the color of the design. So you definitely don't want to do that. So I would leave that one alone, but you can mess with the opacity and the fill to make things more or less intense. So let's take a look at making this more intense so we can really see these highlights on these tumblers. So I've got it set at 55% opacity, and you can take it all the way up. That's only like 86 or 82 now. So you'll have to do this under each one. So like that's at 82, and then you'd go here and you'd put 82, and it would update it there. And it's the same with highlights and with shading. You just change the opacity or the fill to make it stand out more or less. You can also use this extra highlight shadows layer group. If you toggle this on, you see that it really makes things pop a little bit more. If I show you this, you'll see that these are filters in this group. So if you want to edit these, you're more than welcome to. I just give a little bit word of caution with these because they can mess with the entire mock-up, and for all three of them as well. So if we go over to this one, we'll toggle that off and toggle it back on, and you see it's affected everything. So if you want to make any changes to this, all you have to do is double click this icon, and as you see, it's opened the brightness contrast filter panel. If you want to change the vibrance filter, you just double click that icon and it'll open that up. Now, to make changes to this, you just drag and drop. And as I said before, as you can see, it can totally affect everything in here, from the background to the shadows to the design itself. So I'd make sure you're careful as you're messing with those so you don't misrepresent your design too much. Now you've got your lid straws and shadows right here. And again, they're separated by which tumbler they're on. So if you will just look at the left one for now, you'll see you've got a bent metal straw and the bent straw shadows. If you hide that, you can see the shadows and objects. This is going to be for your straight shadows, as you see right there. If you turn on this metal straw, you'll see that's a straight metal straw, and then you've got your plastic straw right there. So you've got a couple options with that. You also have your bottom shadows here, and I have these separated again, so you can make these more or less intense by going to the opacity and fill and changing those. You can move them around, whatever you need to do. With backgrounds here, I've set you up with 8 different backgrounds to start with. Just give you some variety for any kind of designs that you're working with. I've also got a hue saturation filter on the white shimmer background. So if you make that visible and then you double click this color palette, it's going to open up your hue saturation filter panel. You want to make sure that this colorize box is checked. When it's not checked, the color doesn't show. So that's something that can easily get checked and unchecked. So I like to make sure you guys know how to toggle that on and off. Now to change the color, you just drag and drop on hue and it'll take you whatever color you need. You can make it more saturated, less saturated, lighter, darker, whatever you need to really make the design pop. Now that's your first mock-up. Now if we take a look at the second mock-up, you've got the same things with your highlights and shadows are right there. You've got your lids and straws and shadows all right here still. The only thing that's different is going to be the backgrounds, and you've got 4 backgrounds. You've got the white shimmer, the marble, the wood, and paper. Now I've got the hue saturation color filter on here as well, but this is going to be applicable to all of these designs. One thing that you can do to mess with this just a little bit is if you click on this layer, you can change the color mode on the blending mode on this one to color. And as you can see, it's changed how the color is going to lay on there. You see? So that's something that you can play with a little bit later if you want. And then you've got the same thing set up for the third mock-up as well. Now with the backgrounds anyway. So you've got the same 4 and you've still got the color filter on there. I will suggest putting a logo, a watermark, something on top of this, so that way people won't steal your designs or anything. I've got these little overlay shadows on here. They are pretty light. If you turn this extra highlights shadows on, you see it does pop just a little bit more. Let's see, if we do like that, then it'll make it significantly darker. But I have that on the whole layer group. I have the opacity set to 50. So if you want to take that up anymore, you'll do it on the overall layer group. But that's really all you have to do with this mock-up. Now I do have it set up with actions. I'm going to go over how to use the actions really fast. So I'm going to save this. Now, if we open up the actions folder, you'll see you've got several different actions. I get requests for different variations of the action. So you really can ignore all those other ones. You can play with them if you want, but the only one you really want to use is this multi mock-up with pause to resize. So if you double click this, it's going to automatically install it into Photoshop for you. Now to use it, you want to find this action button. It looks like a big play button. If you don't see this in here, you can go to Window and Actions, or press Alt F9, and it'll open up for you. Now, it's usually going to be at the very bottom of the action panel. So that way it's easy for you to find. You're like, oh, it's the most recently updated. It's always going to be at the bottom. So I've got 2 different groups within this action. You've got a load design group and a save design group. Load design is just what it says. You're going to load the design in, and there's going to be a pause before you save. And I'll go over that in just a second. So to use it, select the load and then press the play button right here. If you get this error message, it's not a big deal. Just hit OK, and then select the design that you want to upload. As you see, it automatically copied and pasted into the document, and it has it set to free transform, so you can resize if you need to. Once you're happy with that, press that check mark, and it's saving and closing out of the smart object, And now that part of the action is done. This gives you time to make those changes that we were talking about before. So if you want to change the highlights, the shadows, the background, anything like that, you can do that now before you go to the save part of the action. Because depending on the design, I personally will change the background. I'll mess with the highlights and shadows some, because those things will kind of change depending on the design you've got in there. So things to keep in mind. So when you're ready, go click on the save design and then press the play button. And it's set as mockup 1, 2, and 3. So you just go through, save, it changed to mockup 2, save, change to mockup 3, and save. And then it takes you, oh, no, it doesn't take you back up there. Let's see. Record. There we go. And I will save this now. Now it will take you back to the mockup 1. So you can start from scratch at the very beginning. I try to think of things to make things just move faster. If it's one less thing for me or you to have to click, that's great. So I'll have this saved and updated in the folder for you guys under the same name. So yeah, this is the mockup in Photoshop. I've shown you how to use it with and without the action. If you guys have any questions, any feedback on ways to improve, please feel free to comment below or message me in my Etsy shop. I'm always here and willing to help with any kind of problems that you've got. So just reach out to me. If you're going to use Photopea, stick around. I'll be back in just a minute and go over the slight little change in Photopea. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Talk to y'all soon. Okay guys, I'm going to go over how to use the mockup in Photopea now. Now Photopea is a lot like Photoshop, but you're going to use it in a web browser. You can use it on a PC or an iPad, phone. As long as it has a web browser, you can use Photopea. It is 100% free and you don't need an account to be able to use it. Out of all the art programs that I've used, and I've used a lot, I've found that this is the most comparable to Photoshop. And I actually prefer using Photopea on my iPad as opposed to Photoshop Express. Ironically, Photoshop Express does not have all of the same tools as Photoshop, but Photopea can be used on the iPad and still has access to all the same tools. So, whatever. Anyway, Photopea is awesome and it's free, so use it. So to use it, you're going to go to photopea.com, and if you click on Open from Computer, just go to the mockup that we're going to use. It's loading. Now, as I said before, not much is different with this from Photoshop into Photopea. They use a lot of the same tools, a lot of the same features. You're still going to access everything the exact same way that I went over in the Photoshop portion. The only thing that's going to be different is the smart objects, how to open and how to save. But it's not that big of a deal. You also, unfortunately, cannot use the actions in Photopea. I think I'm going to have to make the actions in Photopea for them to work on Photopea. Probably because of how things are a little different with the smart objects. That's probably what keeps hanging it up. I do update files from time to time. Like this is so different from how it was when I first made this design like a year ago. So make sure you're checking your folders like every couple months, because you'll probably end up seeing an updated mockup file. You'll probably have updated actions. Who knows what other kind of stuff will be thrown in there. But just check it out every now and then. You might find something new, including an action that will work in here. So if you remember from the Photoshop portion, you're going to look for these red tabbed layers, and those are your smart object layers. Now you're going to double click on this thumbnail, and it's going to open up your smart object. Now in Photoshop, we would do File Open, but in here we're going to do File Open and Place. And now navigate to the design that you want to use. And as you see, it automatically copied, pasted, and set the design to free transform. So that saves some time, at least. Now, it's the same thing as in Photoshop. Your proportions are going to be linked. You can hold down Shift, or you can go uncheck that link right there, and that will let you resize individually and not proportionally. Once you're happy with it, press the check mark, and you can press Control S to save, or go File, Save Smart Object. And as you see, the smart object's updated. It's on your first mockup, on your second mockup, and on your third. So it's not that big of a hiccup like with that change, because at least it speeds up the process by doing the copy, pasting, and free transform automatically for you. That's kind of like an action in and of itself. So it'll still go really quick. It just won't do the automatic saving that the other action in Photoshop would do. But I'll work on that. I'll try and get these updated with that as soon as I can. But yeah, that's really all that's different in Photopea as opposed to Photoshop. So if you guys have any questions or problems with Photopea or with Photoshop, please let me know. You can drop a comment below, message me in my Etsy shop. I'm always happy to help. But I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial and enjoy your mockup. Have a great day.